What's up, everyone? Thomas here with For Real Movie News and Reviews. And film festival season for the fall is kicking off, and there is a lot of stuff coming up that we're going to be covering. But this video is the curtain raiser for Fantasia Film Festival. Last year was my very first time officially covering a film festival, and that was with Fantasia. And so I'm really excited to be returning to the festival and being able, or virtually, I suppose, being able to cover the festival again this year and seeing what new genre films they have to display. So, joining me on this conversation to discuss our thoughts, hopes, dreams, and desires for Fantasia 2021 is my good friend and regular guest here at For Real, Taylor Baker from Drinking the Movies in Seattle.
Thanks for having me back again. It's a pleasure to be the only Taylor, therefore the best Taylor today.
The other Taylor is not here to protest that, so I guess that's going to be the case.
I'll just throw some shade, and he can pick it up when he's back.
Absolutely. Yeah, he will also be covering a little bit of Fantasia, which is pretty cool. But yeah, so we'll probably get him on one of these videos. Yeah, Fantasia, dude. How excited are you for this?
I was a lot more excited before I saw what we couldn't watch. That's a little bit of a bummer. The Suicide Squad and the Night House being the premier titles that they're unfortunately not going to be able to issue screeners for. But if you're actually able to attend the festival in person, you'll have a lot more access than we will down in the States rather than up in Canada. There's definitely a few niche foreign films that I'm really looking forward to. Satoshi Kon, the illustrator, All the Moons, Under the Open Sky, Glass House, The Righteous. Those are all films that I want to catch up on that either have buzz or just have synopsises that really pulled me in.
Yeah, absolutely. I've looked through the lineup a little bit, and what I'm noticing is that there are a lot of interesting international films, which is cool to see. But also a lot of things that we've encountered before, things that debuted at Sundance and South by Southwest and some other film festivals throughout the year. So it's exciting to see these films still getting some attention, and will hopefully capture even more attention here at Fantasia.
Yeah, I mean, the goal is for these movies that you and I have seen, especially the good ones, to eventually, get distribution. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to see some of those really good ones are still being acknowledged as really good. Coming Home in the Dark, that's one that I think we both just want to see acquired. I believe that the Fighter film that was produced by Darren Aronofsky. I can't remember the exact title of it right now, but I believe that film is also playing here at Fantasia. There's a bunch of stuff that you and I have gone through and watched. I mean, Strawberry Mansion, we've seen included, I don't know how many festivals still waiting to be acquired. Paul Dude's Deadly Lunch Break. Agnes, I think that we saw at a couple film festivals. I never did catch up with it. I might get to that one here. And then Alien on Stage, which one of the writers from the team over at Drinking the Movies, she absolutely loved. It's one of her favorite on the year. That's a documentary about like a little independent stage production of the film Alien.
Yeah, I've seen that one pop up, but I have not put it on my radar yet, but I'm gonna have to now. And that's one of the whole points of being able to participate with these film festivals is to hear from others the things that we need to check out, and that's why we do this. So So just a few details about the festival. It goes from August 5th to August 25th. So I love these longer film festivals, especially when it's virtual, because there's so much more opportunity to take in the vast selection of things. So that's kind of cool that it's going for so long. And so far, one of the things that we've talked about a lot over the past few months has been the press experience. And I'm sure that is something that we're going to talk more about here. And, when it comes to the hopes and dreams and desires that I mentioned earlier, I think that that's going to be a lot of this conversation, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, it can be. It strikes me that the press experience should really only be brought up insofar as it limits what we're able to talk about, really, because otherwise it should almost be indistinguishable, and we should kind of be able to present the same experience as if we were boots on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever the experience has gotten in the way of that is when I've really seen frustrations pop up.
Mm-hmm.
Because we can't adequately write for the people attending the festival, whether virtually or in person. And so I think that any of the concerns that we're probably going to express are going to be those ones adjacent to limiting us from actually being able to cover the full collection of festivals. I believe only one of their retro titles this year is available, which is incredibly frustrating since I planned to do pieces on my platform specifically about some of the retro stuff and comparative analysis to what they're bringing in now and just kind of how that looks. But due to the limitations, had to completely pivot. So yeah, the communication early on about what exactly was going to be available would have been nice, because now it's kind of a mad dash scramble to be like, well, what movies can we cover that we haven't already covered at a different film festival?
That's a valid point, right? Like we want to be able to experience this film festival and experience what what this one has to offer, and that has been a challenge certainly in past film festivals. And we have benchmarks like South by Southwest and Tribeca to kind of set expectations against. I think that what we learned out of those festivals is that communication is so important, and setting proper expectations is also very important. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how Fantasia handles that here, as we get closer to the festival beginning, which is pretty quickly. So I think that last year I had a really great experience with Fantasia, but kind of like I mentioned, it was also nice to be a part of a festival as official press. So I get to go in this year without the rose-colored glasses and just get to experience it, and hope that we have something that we can walk away from having enjoyed and appreciated being a part of. And so yeah, that all comes with communication and setting proper expectations. So
yeah, the experience I think last year was also notably different in that they were like one of the first film festivals to be like, we're going to try to do this, we don't know how. And it was a lot of emailed screeners, it was a lot of the production companies taking responsibility for how the screener is going to be hosted and issuing those to press. This year it's even more confusing somehow, because most of the movies that I've wanted to watch that I would say are of a higher quality, I'm still having to email to get the screener for, even though they have this press platform. So it's a little bit of a miscommunication on my understanding of what exactly the expectation is here because of that. And then the secondary issue is that I am able to watch some films, but I'm reaching out to try to get a Vimeo screener for them, because the maximum press resolution on our platform is, I believe, 576p. That's 576 pixels. That's less than 720. So I'm trying to get 1080p copies of these films, because otherwise you're going to give a poor review for a film that is otherwise good, fun, high quality, just because like it looks visually bad, and that's going to overwrite in this art form a lot of the other experience, because you're not going to be able to appreciate any of the beauty of the cinematography if you're trying to distinguish shapes.
Yeah, absolutely. The visual component is so important to how films are interpreted, right? Like that's so crucial to the experience, is making sure that you have a good quality, or a quality that the artist intended, right? And so
Yes.
Yeah, that's super
Yeah, if it
important.
doesn't visually look like the artist intended, that's
yeah, and it's hard.
That's the issue.
It's hard to like adjust for that in your head, because I don't know if the thinking is, well, it's lower quality, but just pretend like it's not, right? Like that doesn't quite work as effectively as as one might expect. But hopefully that's not going to be a big detractor from our experience with this festival. And like I said, communication is important, so hopefully we do have better communication than we've had with certain film festivals in the past, and that Fantasia is responsive to the needs of the press, because we're here to promote this festival, and we're here to find all the good in what this festival is doing, and what it's hosting as select films and things like that. So let's talk about movies that you're looking forward to. You had mentioned a couple. You want to expand a little bit on one or two of them?
Yeah, I can do that. Which film that I brought up did you most get piqued by? We're
I
talking
don't.
about the theatrical releases that we won't
You
technically
know
be
what?
able to see as part of the festival, or
Let's
more of those indie selections.
let's look at the indie selections, because the mainstream releases that they're covering. Oh, actually, you do have some insight on one of them. So we'll get to
I do.
that. We'll get to that. But let's talk about the indie selections here.
Yeah. So the first one that's piqued my interest is going to be Glass House, Kelsey Egan's, I believe, directorial debut. It's been likened to the Beguiled type film. If you're familiar with the Beguiled, I don't remember the year that the original came out, but Sofia Coppola just did a remake of it, I believe, in 2017 with Nicole Kidman and a big all-star cast. And this is another comparative film to something like that, but it's with the toxin that's causing dementia, it seems. And it's a family, some young kids, and it's supposed to just kind of be an atmospheric swell. And those are the types of films that I like to find during the festivals, those little intimate things that really get a pulse going. I already mentioned one of the festival favorites from, I believe, Sundance, for me, which was Coming Home in the Dark, right? And that's just a film that you turned on, you didn't really know what you were going to expect. Half of me was, in my seventh movie that day or whatever, and ready to go to bed. But all of a sudden, this pulsating film starts, and you just can't let go. I'm hoping that that's something along the lines of what Glass House is, not necessarily in the same exact genre, but it is classified as a science fiction thriller. So, I'm hopeful that it's going to be a little bit in that darker milieu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And so Coming Home in the Dark was one that I had the privilege of talking with the sound designers about at Sundance, and it's so much about that film is very entertaining, of course, but suspenseful and engaging. Of course, sound design played a massive part in that, but it's
Huge role.
yeah,
Without
massive.
without the sound design, it's not the same movie.
Right,
You
right,
have to believe
exactly.
in the kills.
Yeah, and it does such a great job at being entertaining. But I think that horror fans, people that enjoy that kind of genre and suspense thriller kind of thing, are going to love it a lot. And Fantasia is just a great place for this film to be on display. So yeah, very cool. I think that so there's a few films that are at Fantasia that we've seen before at different film festivals. Coming Home in the Dark was one of them. Prisoners of the Ghostland is another one that I
Mm-hmm.
actually kind of want to shout out here. Nicholas Cage
That's on my list. Yeah.
Nicholas Cage is on a roll this year. Between Prisoners of the Ghostland, there was that Wonderland one, Willy's Wonderland. I haven't
Mm-hmm.
seen it yet, but that's supposed to be another like unhinged one. And then Peg, like he just has like all the crazy movies coming out, and he's kind of been reinforcing this brand of being just like a really crazy genre actor. And cool, good for him. Prisoners of the Ghostland embraces that to an absurd level, and it's not going to be for everyone. It's not for me, it's not my genre of film. But I can recognize that there are going to be so many people that love the absurdity of this film, that there is an audience for this. And again, Fantasia is a perfect place for this film to land.
And
Um,
it's a perfect pairing. Like, even if you don't get to it at this festival, it's a great film to watch right before you go into the unbearable weight of massive talent,
oh
which
yeah.
is the movie coming out where Nicolas Cage like plays himself, and he gets offered to do something like he's playing a role like at a birthday party or something for $1 million, and
Mhm.
then like everything begins to unravel and like the president's daughter's kidnapped or something and he's playing himself, you know.
Mhm.
So I think that that's like a perfect film to watch right before you watch him making fun of himself.
That is entirely true. I think that that's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. Honestly, Nicolas Cage has become just one of those actors. I didn't care for his productions because of how weird they can be, but you just have to embrace it, and that's what I've learned to do with him. And so I'm excited for more people to see Prisoners of the Ghostland and everything else that he does.
Yeah.
Ultrasound was another one that I thought
Oh,
was
are we getting to the good ones?
oh the
Because
good
I can go over the good ones that we've already seen. I
I
thought we were
just
talking about stuff we want to see.
well I'm just like mentioning things that were good that have been before. I guess an one that I haven't seen that I am interested in, and of course I just closed the tab. Hold on, reopen, close tab. That is a wonderful feature. One that stuck out to me that I haven't seen yet is it's called Don't Say Its Name. So it's a Canadian film, and it's an indigenous film, and it has to do there's kind of this environmental component to it where this mining company wants to mine in this on this indigenous land. And I don't know a whole lot about it, but that's kind of how I like going into films at film festivals. But this one stood out to me just because I like mystery, thriller, suspense films. I like Canadian film, and I think that this is one that I'm looking forward to, just as like um, kind of like a what was that zombie film, the Canadian zombie film that came out last year or the year before last.
I don't know if I would have seen that one.
Yeah, I can't think of it. It did a pretty solid film festival run, including I'm pretty sure it played at Fantasia as well. But anyway, it just seems like a really good horror thriller kind of production, and I like those. I really like when you can have this like more locally feeling film that has a good mystery and has a good suspense element to it, and so that's kind of what I'm expecting from that one.
Yeah, hopefully
So
a little bit more intimate and all those types of things.
right, which is what's
And a
cool.
nice tight runtime, 84 minutes. I like that.
84 minutes. You know what? Film festivals, I mean, I will entertain any movie with a great story, but I have a very special appreciation now for 70 to 90-minute films.
During film festival
During film
runs.
festivals,
Absolutely.
yes,
Yes.
they are so easy to just be like, okay, I'm just going to throw this on and
Movie number 7, I can pay a lot more attention to when it's 84 minutes, not 284
oh,
minutes.
right. Very true. So yeah, that's one that really stuck out to me. But as you're mentioning, we can talk about good ones, the things that have shown at other film festivals.
Oh,
Ultrasound
we
was one.
certainly can. I mean, before we do though, I will say that there's All the Moons, which is like this vampire film that's I believe it's from from the Czech Republic, Czechoslovakia. I don't remember what our current Czech term is,
Mhm.
but it's like an 80-minute intimate vampire story about a young girl who gets turned. It's played a few other film festivals. It's got a little bit of buzz around it. I'm really excited to see films coming out of that region. There's kind of a renaissance happening there. Then there's The Righteous, which is also in that same genre we were just talking about, kind of a horror thriller drama type of a thing that I'm interested in. And then the TIFF selected film from last year, Under the Open Sky, when an ex-Yakuza gets out of prison after spending most of his life in, he gets out and just tries to get back into society. I think that's going to be a really interesting drama piece. It is more of a 2-hour runtime, but I mean, even the criticisms that it's had make it sound interesting to me as a film to just take in.
I'm looking up All the Moons, and this looks so interesting.
Right.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna make that one
Yeah,
happen.
there's a great trailer for it. It really reminds me of kind of Let the Right One In vibe, but it's very
Mhm.
much its own thing.
I mean,
Um,
even this poster, like I'm looking at the poster and it's nothing extravagant, but man, it just conveys such a mood.
Mm-hmm.
I want it. I must watch this movie.
Add it to that watch list. That's
Yeah.
part of the goal here. Get Glass House on there, Under the Open
Hmm.
Sky, all the moons and the righteous. Those are kind of my big ones that are not limited to theatrical distribution here. And then, of
Right.
course, Satoshi Kon, the Illusionist, which unfortunately I think is going to be very hard for other folks to watch. But anybody that's familiar with Perfect Blue or any of Satoshi's work is going to, I think, love this film. And I believe it played at Cannes
Okay.
just last month.
Nice. Very cool. Well, I'll mention a couple, just a couple more on my to watch list, and they're both from Japan actually. So one of them is Sexual Drive, and the synopsis starts off with gather round for three steamy stories of food and sex. Sold. Like, do I need to read anymore? So that sounds that one piques my interest a lot. And the other one is I mean, I guess I put it on my to watch list, but I have had the opportunity to see it already, I won't talk about it here. But the other one is Beyond the Infinite 2 Minutes,
Mm-hmm.
which is a another Japanese film, one take film, by the way, that deals with time, a 2 minute delay, and kind of time, this time paradoxish kind of thing. um that one, the I like one take films, and that's that same kind of concept drew me to a film at Fantasia last year called Crazy Samurai Mutashi. And that one, I think it, I like one take films, but I think that one didn't do it artistically enough. So I was a little disappointed with that one. But I'm interested in seeing people's reactions to how this movie Beyond the Infinite 2 Minutes. I'm interested in seeing people's reactions to how this uses the one take to deal with this like time discrepancy thing. So it's a little more independent, a little more low budget. But it's the premise is so fascinating to me, and the filming style is so fascinating that I can't wait to see what people think about it. So
That's all right. I guess I have to watch it.
yes, yeah, definitely put it on your list. I think it's another one of those shorter runtime films.
Yeah. I think that's one of the, or maybe
70
that's
minutes.
one of
Yeah.
the only pieces of Asian cinema that is not also playing another film festival that I'm simultaneously covering right now, which is the New York Asian Film Festival. So there's a
Right.
lot of Asian films selected to Fantasia that I'm covering both for Fantasia and for
Right.
NYAFF. So it's
Yeah.
quite the slog right now.
Yes, there's this film festival season for the fall. It is a pleasant, grueling experience. So there's definitely a lot to it.
Emphasis on grueling.
Grueling.
So if you want, we can get back over to really, really good movies
Let's do
at
it.
this festival.
Yeah.
The first of which I think out of all the films that I took down is closest to being tied even with Coming Home in the Dark. I think Coming Home in the Dark is maybe my favorite, that like out of all the films that they have that I've already seen that I'll go back and revisit when it comes out. But Ultrasound is a fantastic film. It almost begs a rewatch. I don't know that it will be better with a rewatch, but it certainly does beg it with its surreality. I don't know, but either way, it's surreal. And when you finish the film, you don't quite know when certain folds happened and how certain decisions were made, and you kind of want to go back and take another look.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Ultrasound was one that was strongly recommended, and so I watched it on strong recommendation, either from you or Beaumont. One of you two had recommended it, and was very, very happy that that I made the time for it. It's yeah, really, really good movie. And yeah, I can't wait to see what people think about it at Fantasia. I'm actually shocked that you didn't. That Ultrasound is up there, but you haven't ranked The Spine of Night up there the same way.
The Spine of Night is next.
Oh, okay, great. I was wondering, like,
There's a
is it,
tear break.
there's
There's
a tear
definitely
break.
a tear break of coming home in the dark and ultrasound being like these great pulpy genre pulling
Yeah.
pieces. And then the Spine of Night, which is very much like a get inebriated at 10 p.m., make sure it's all dark out. No
Mm-hmm.
one's going to bother you and just stare at the screen and watch brutality unfold.
That is exactly what the Spine of Night is for. But I actually really appreciated the story. I really liked the the traversing through folklore and everything that film does. This was a South by Southwest selection, is where it debuted,
Mm-hmm.
and we were very fortunate to be able to watch it there, and it was one of those films that I didn't think I was gonna like. The animation is
Yeah, I also
beautiful.
didn't think you'd like it.
Yeah, we're all shocked that I liked this movie. The animation is beautiful, regardless of whether you like the movie or not. It's fantastic animation, um, and violent, incredibly violent. But it's so engaging. If you can get past if you can like buy into it after the first like 10 or 15 minutes, then the rest of the experience is just fantastic. Such a wonderful production. And I don't know, like I was very pleasantly surprised by how much I liked this movie and what it did
Yeah,
with
and
the
this
story.
this is one of the few with like a bunch of stars. It's kind of a
Mhm.
rotoscope animation, so they like act stuff out, and then I believe the computer program just kind of animates it, and then they get to color it and play around with it. But some of it is it's not all done by hand, but it has Richard E. Grant, Lucy Lawless, Patton Oswald, Joe Manganiello, and I think there was one more that I'm forgetting. But I mean, that's a pretty big cast for an independent film that's playing film festival circuit still.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what the distribution strategy is, or the strategy for getting this distributed, because even at South by Southwest, we weren't sure if we were going to be able to watch it. I think that there was some issue.
Correct.
Yeah, there was some issue with getting us the screener and everything. So that was kind of an uncertainty, and I'm very happy that it worked out. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the only festival it's screened at so far, and then Fantasia. So I'm very curious on who's going to pick this film up, because someone's going to pick this film up,
Yes.
and where it's going to end up at. I mean,
Shutter.
that was the first thing I was going to say, is maybe Shutter, but that would be such a a out there kind
Boone.
of, yeah, it'd be such an out there selection for Shutter, completely like on brand but off brand for them,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's not horror, but it's very violent, and it could just completely change the perspective of this platform, especially if this movie continues getting the notoriety that it deserves, and it keeps getting those positive reviews and keeps earning that buzz. If Shutter could afford it, I don't know how that works, but if Shutter could afford it, that it would be a great place for this movie to be.
Yeah, I'd prefer honestly that like they take less money and get an overall deal. Like I just want those two directors to go make more stuff in
Right.
this vein, like make a risk. My pitch back when we saw it was that I just want Wizards of the Coast to be like, here's too much money. We have you for 10 years and you have to make 5 movies. Go.
Go. That would be incredible. Absolutely. I would watch every one of them. This is something that this is a very special experience, and I want more special experiences. So I'm very happy that Fantasia has this one. Um,
Um,
mhm.
right in that same vein, there's another animated movie, which I know you and I didn't particularly care for, but it certainly had its people that did enjoy it, and that's another animated film, Crypto Zoo,
Oh
also
yes,
playing the festival this year.
cryptos.
I believe it also has a pretty impressive cast in and
Yeah.
of itself. I think it's like Lake Bell, Michael Sarah, Zoe
Mhm.
Kazan. Not really any slouches there.
Man, Crypto Zoo has been making rounds. That movie has been getting around to like all of the film festivals, which is great for those filmmakers. I did very much enjoy My Entire High School Sinking into the Sea, but I get the feeling that I could enjoy that one time.
Yep.
The sensory overload that Crypto Zoo is. If you're being introduced to these filmmakers and this is your first film watching by them, then maybe you'll have a good time with it. I am kind of, it's weird to say, but I'm kind of burnt out on that style. Um, and I've only watched two of the movies. This it's just so much, so much sensory stuff going on with
Yeah, with
the
extreme
pacing.
absurdism as like its core, like
Yeah.
they're arguably on something similar to Earth, but there's just so much consistent absurdism.
Mhm,
And just it really leans into like tropes in
mhm.
narrative. Like it's constantly leaning on the trope of the narrative to further along whatever's happening.
Oh yeah.
It feels like a too long episode of a cartoon that I watched in the 90s.
Absolutely. And you know what? Maybe that's the direction that these filmmakers should go in. Perhaps because I think this is the third film of theirs, right? Because I think there was
Yeah,
one
this is
before.
Dash's third, I
Yeah.
believe.
So maybe that's the direction they should go in. I'm glad that CryptoZoo is getting all the exposure that it's getting. That's fantastic. But maybe the direction they should go in is into more episodic stuff. I think I would appreciate it more when I can take breaks. Because even outside of the absurdity of the premise and the type of world that these stories exist, it's like how it's animated just throws so much color and action and high pacing and so much at you. I'm physically exhausted watching this
Hmm.
movie. Um and that's weird to say for something, a type of it with
That's a
entertainment where
cartoon.
it's a cartoon, right? And so it's weird sitting munching on popcorn and feeling exhausted. That's my experience with it. And I don't know, I hope that people like it and enjoy it enough, but it took me, because I tried watching it at Sundance and couldn't get through too much of it before I decided it just wasn't the mood. But then I had the chance to watch it in a theater at North Bend Film Festival, which I'm very thankful for the opportunity of. But it still felt the same way in the theater. Just like, man, this is an exhausting thing to watch. There's a lot going on, and it's so absurd. I think my entire high school sinking into the sea was about the capacity that I had to devote to this kind of thing in a feature length film. So,
Yeah.
but good mentioning
That
it. That's a good
all
one to bring
that
up.
to be said though, I still think like even though you and I didn't like it, like there's something there for a lot of people. A lot
Oh
of
yeah,
people responded positively to it. I think Beaumont responded
he
positively
did.
to it.
Yep.
And I mean, it was selected to La Biennale. So I mean, it's been to, like you said, a bunch of film festivals. And I think that if you've got a pass,
Yeah.
pop this on because it might be your thing, and you won't know because there's not really any other things like this.
Absolutely. It's so unique. If you want something unique, this is a very unique kind of thing, especially if you haven't seen their previous stuff. And if you have, you know what to expect, right? Like it's
Yep.
yeah, it falls in line with what they're really good at doing. So yeah, good mention there. Another one that I want to shout out is The Feast. Um which I saw at South by Southwest, and actually had the chance to talk with a couple of the filmmakers on that one. Um, it-
Yeah, we both saw that one.
yeah. It's a very interesting one. I like the technicals behind the
Mhm.
film. I think the cinematography was great. I think the score was great.
The first half is really good.
The first half of the film is stellar.
You end up thinking you're watching like a Yorgos Lanthimos coming of age from like a new director, and then the second half of the film happens. But that first half,
That first
great
half
first
is
half.
is really really good. The second half is more niche. There's an audience for the
Hmm.
second half.
And this is the audience for it.
Yes,
Fantasia is the
absolutely.
audience for it, just like Crypto Zoo.
Yeah,
It's definitely a B genre turn. And I think that's exactly what the audience here that's here for the Fantasia B genre stuff wants.
absolutely. So yeah, that's another one I wanted to shout out. It seems perfect for Fantasia and Fantasia audiences. Yeah, give that one a watch. But yeah, I mean, Taylor, you watch when we go to film festivals, you watch way more movies than I do.
You're saying I hurt myself.
Yes, you do. This is almost like self abuse.
Uh-huh.
But how many do you think you're going to get in at Fantasia?
How many do I think I'll get to? Well, it's not very many English language films, so I'm gonna
Hmm.
guess probably about 15.
Hmm.
Because the amount of attention that I'm gonna need to put in each day to watch them, and because I've got breaks that I'll be taking in the middle of the festival. So
Yeah.
since we are able to start a little bit earlier, we'll see. But I wouldn't guess that I'd go too far above 15 because of New York Asian Film Festival
Right.
running simultaneous to it.
Yeah, that's always fun doing simultaneousness. I think that that's going to be the case with my schedule for some things in the future. I also will be taking a break in the middle of Fantasia. I'll be actually traveling for work, which means I need to get some screeners because I could use not airplane movies to
Yes.
watch when I'm on the plane. But
Collect your thoughts.
collect my thoughts. I don't know, maybe pique someone's interest who's sitting next to me. Oh yeah, this is playing at Fantasia. You should get a ticket. But yeah, I think 15 sounds about right for me as well. I'm gonna start this week. And fortunately, and this is one of the reasons I love that Fantasia is so long, because with it going from the 5th to the 25th, with my travels, I have a week before the festival to publish stuff or to watch stuff or whatever, and then a week after the festival. So
Hmm.
like it's really cool to be able to take a break, to travel, to do personal things or whatever, and still and not worry about like, will I have time to be a part of the festival? So that's what I really appreciate about this, and I'm so happy that it goes for
That's
almost
why
a,
virtual is great, even with all the hangups,
yeah,
like less
yeah,
than 600p.
yes, that's true.
um,
Yes,
couple more movies I want to make sure that we get to.
absolutely.
One of which is the Darren Aronofsky produced Catch the Fair One.
Yeah.
This played at Tribeca. It's kind of a grimy fighter thriller type of a flick. It starts and you think it's going to be more of a fighting boxing type of a film where you're going to spend a lot of cage time with this MMA fighter. And she ends up enlisting herself to go into the smuggled sex trade, essentially. And she lets herself be kidnapped and sold as a sex slave to try to track down another girl. And I didn't really love the film, but I respect it a lot. It just didn't work for me in a couple places. But I think that you know, this is one of the better thrillers that I'm aware of that's playing the film festival. And although it didn't work perfectly for me, I think it's worth engaging with.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, good mention. I think it's also playing at Bentonville this week, and so I missed
Oh,
it.
great.
Yeah, so I've missed it before, but I think I'm gonna watch it at Bentonville and have my review published before Fantasia. So yeah, that'll
Good.
be good. It's so cool to have all these crossovers.
Yeah. It's convenient for attempting to keep up. The
Hmm.
last one I'll bring up is a documentary about kind of a B genre pop icon, polystyrene. The film is called Polystyrene, I Am a Cliche. And it's kind of an engagement from her daughter with her mother's work and her mother's activities and who she was as a person and the choices that she made. And it's kind of a reconciliation type of a documentary that is also an expose on who polystyrene was.
Hmm.
And I had no familiarity before I watched this. I believe it played as part of Hot Docs. And I was very pleasantly surprised by it. I didn't love the documentary by any means, but I think that it's a really thoughtful engagement from a family member on like the history of what having like a cultural icon means and the difference between who she was to people publicly and who she actually was to her daughter. It's just it's an interesting film worth engaging with, and the only documentary playing here that I've already seen.
Oh, nice. Very cool. Well, I appreciate that recommendation. I always like coming across really good documentaries. It's a genre that I don't give enough of my attention to. And so it helps when which is crazy because my favorite film of the year so far is a documentary.
I knew you'd
So
talk about Flea.
of course I'm talking about Flea. There's not ever a reason not to talk about Flea. I was actually just looking and I can't find when that movie is going to be released. And I'm very annoyed by that because
Yeah, I don't think it's formally announced with the release date. Did we want to get to the Suicide Squad?
oh, that's right. Yes. So, one movie that is screening at Fantasia is The Suicide Squad, which
Correct.
Taylor has had the privilege of already having seen. So, give us your take on the Suicide, because I should let people know I am not a fan of the
DC.
first Suicide Squad or DC. Taylor knows I'm not a fan of DC films. I think that they are great visually, but they miss the mark in storytelling and character development and everything that's important to me in films. Which there's an audience for, and that's why they make a whole bunch of money and da 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 da. But apparently, the Suicide Squad has some merit to it. Taylor, what do you think about the Suicide Squad?
It does have merit to it. People that dislike DC, I think, are going to enjoy it a lot, particularly the audience that also enjoyed the Zachary Levi Shazam. That was a lot more, you know, maybe fun to watch than the brooding darkness that is Zack Snyder's direction. The Suicide Squad is James Gunn doing his superhero stuff, but a little bit different, right? So even though they're villains, he's still operating within the lexicon in the visual language of telling a superhero story, but with twists. In the first 20 minutes of the film, you're going to see more main characters die than you've probably ever seen in any super-ish film.
Wow.
And I think that definitely earns a lot of respect. There was certainly a crowd cheering and clapping at my screening, not just at that, but at multiple points throughout. The CG is done really, really well. I don't want to spoil too much, but in the trailer, you've already seen this giant starfish in the middle of the daytime, right? And I that's a boss battle. Okay, we go to DC, we look at Snyder, we look at like the Captain America films, we look at Wonder Woman. You're thinking of boss battles, you're thinking darkness, you can't really see anything, you're thinking that terrible episode of Game of Thrones where you couldn't see anything. The Suicide Squad, James Gunn is like, let's put it all on a tropical island in bright sunlight, and it looks great, it's fun the whole time. Superhero movies, I don't really get that passionate about. I'm more of an auteurist where I'd rather watch Zack Snyder give me his interpretation of the entire thing than watch Guns for Hire. But James Gunn is a good gun for hire. I think he really rewrote everything and made the Suicide Squad that people wanted to see, not a Suicide Squad that was kind of corrupted. You know, that's its whole other narrative. But this is a fun movie. It's got good performances all around. Margot's very fun. Idris is a great straight man. And my favorite character by far, Sylvester Stallone's Shark. I forget his name because the name that's listed isn't actually his name in the film.
Wow, that's funny. James Gunn is a good gun for hire. Someone put that on the poster. That's a great excerpt.
You're welcome.
We had talked about this.
Did I convince you?
You know what? I'm going to see it, but I don't think this, because the last time I saw a Suicide Squad movie, I drove to Canada in an attempt to keep my dollars out of the domestic box office. So I might actually
Thomas
see it here.
Doesn't hate DC at all.
No. I am very privileged to have or at that point to have had the convenience of just popping up to Canada and going there. But I am very interested in this. I'm pretty sure I might. Does this come? When does the Suicide Squad come
out? This Friday.
Oh, what? That soon? I thought I was going to be traveling for it. Okay, well, let me put plans in place.
No, it comes out on the 5th, so there should be our 7 o'clock and 10 p.m. or 9 p.m. showings on Thursday, and then it's formally the 6th. And I believe that the Fantasia screening for the film will be the 5th.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know. Like I think
bigger crowd, the better.
Yeah. Was it South by Southwest that did that musical? What's the musical? In the Heights.
In the Heights.
Yeah.
That was Tribeca.
Oh, Tribeca. That's right. That was Tribeca. So it's kind of cool that these film festivals get these like mainstream releases right before they go.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a good marketing thing, to say that you know this mainstream release was selected by a film festival and that it it releases a day early. But
absolutely.
yeah. So that's cool. It's on my. I will make a
And then when
big
you're back,
priority.
there will be another theatrical release tied into Fantasia, The Night House, starring
That's
Rebecca Hall.
right. Now, the Night House, I am very interested. I know nothing about it. Don't tell me. I love going into films without knowing
There's a
anything.
trailer, and
No,
I didn't like what I saw, but it's
I don't watch
also
trailers. I don't.
getting great reviews. And one of the directors worked on Southbound, which is one of my favorite anthology films of all time.
Southbound. I don't like Southbound, but it's so good.
Right?
I don't like it because of how weird it makes me feel. It's such a it's such a visceral experience, I guess, because it's not just an anthology, but the transitions, but like each story is weird, and then the transitions to the next story is weird.
Hmm.
And then the
Oh, it looks like
next
he
story is
also did
weird.
a film called The Ritual, if you're familiar with that.
Oh, I might have seen that one. Cody might have made me watch that one.
Yeah, 2017 film.
Yeah. Anyway, yes, that's a good one. That I don't like, but really very much appreciated. I just don't like how it made me feel. I feel very like weird.
The fact that it made me feel that way is exactly why I like it so much.
Right. And I will always give it props for that. Like it's so nightmarish. You know how nightmares,
Hmm.
they don't make sense.
Yep, that's exactly, yeah. It leans into the dream language for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's one that we will hopefully be able to review in time with Fantasia, so that people that are physically able to
Mhm.
experience this festival, we can kind of continue that coverage.
Yeah, absolutely. So cool. All right, we'll bring this to a close. Taylor, how with the Fantasia and New York Asian Film Festival coming up, how can people find your
Yep.
content?
People can find everything at drinkinthemovies.com. We've got 4 writers working besides me on Fantasia. I'm working on NYAFF with Patrick Howe, who lives in New York and will be able to attend
Oh,
some of the
wow.
stuff in person.
Nice.
So we're doing as much as we can. And then you can find me at Earth's Taylor, I think, on every platform that exists or matters.
Fair enough. You can find my content at moviesforreal.net, and follow For Real Movie News and Reviews at Movies for Real on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can also follow me personally at Being TSJ on Twitter and Instagram. And while I have both of us on here, I guess this is a great
Mhm.
time to announce that both you and I will be covering the Toronto International Film Festival.
Correct. Yes, we will be doing this all over again.
Yes.
I'm already eyeballing the announced titles. I'm
Hmm.
getting very nervous about what will actually be available,
Right.
but alas,
Alas.
this is our rock, and we will dutifully roll it up the hill.
Yes, absolutely. It's nice to be getting our foot in the door and to be making connections, right? I think one of the best things about these film festivals, besides the great selections that they have, is being able to network with people and seeing kind of the ecosystem of people that you can network with between these festivals and be a part of. So it is a huge honor to be able to cover Toronto. I think we'll both be covering it virtually, but who knows, maybe next year, if we get in next year, we can actually go to
Fingers
Toronto.
crossed. I'm feeling pretty happy that I said virtual right now with
Yeah.
how the Delta's
Right.
coming in.
Right, for sure.
So
So we'll let all that kind of resolve itself and hope that a year from now
fingers
the
crossed.
border will be open and we can freely do what we want to do, and hopefully Toronto will be on our list then. But for this year, that'll be a really great thing to be able to do and also communicate with you about. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited for it.
100%. Hopefully, there will be a really good title we can maybe do a podcast on or something.
That would be dope. Yep. I'm going to look into it for sure. So, okay, cool.
Right.
Everyone, thank you for tuning in. Taylor Baker here with Drinking the Movies. Make sure to connect with him. I'm Thomas Stoneham-Judge with For Real Movie News and Reviews. And until next time, keep it for real.